What's going on, everybody? It's Joel here, and today we're taking a look at the Adidas AlphaBounce trainers. Now, Adidas has a way with letting their training shoes just kind of fly under the radar. When the Crazy Train Elites came out, I had no clue that they were even a thing. Same with the Crazy Power trainers, they just kind of popped up onto the scene. And Adidas has a lot of shoes in their workout section. It's not even called training anymore, it's called workout. And only so many of those are something that I would actually train in. And I base that basically off of, what their offset is. If they're a slightly lower offset, 2, 4, or even 6 millimeters like the AlphaBounce trainers are, then I'll give them a go. The Crazy Train Elites were 6 as well, and then the Crazy Power trainers were 3 millimeters. Those were the flattest shoe that I think Adidas has ever made. But I looked into these shoes, I saw that they were a 6 millimeter drop, so I went ahead and picked them up. They were only $100, and I have to say that I am pleasantly surprised by the AlphaBounce trainers. But first, let's take a look at the build quality and construction of the shoe, which features a single piece upper. Well, I guess not really single piece, kind of single piece. There's one little bit of elastic at like where your foot goes into the shoe. I wouldn't say it's the ankle collar, but that elastic also just kind of goes down into where your foot inserts into the shoe as well. And that's the only, I guess, elastic part of the upper of this shoe. The rest is kind of like a taut material that has this like striping on it. Doesn't really stretch. It actually has pretty good foot containment for what it's worth. And if you haven't already noticed, this shoe is very, very, very wide. It's insanely wide. The widest training shoe that I've ever used. There's a little bit of cushioning at the heel part of the shoe. I don't know if you missed it, but yeah, there's a heel pull tab, and it's it's there. There is like a counter back here. You can't really see it, but there's one, you can feel it. And then there's a heel cup on the sides, and that is just from the midsole rising up and going up to the sides towards your ankle, which gives you a really locked down fit for your foot and your heel. The only issue that I've had with this upper so far is that this part right here kind of rides up a little bit high and does rub up against only my right ankle, which is a little weird. Now, if you look at the top of the shoe, there are these eyelets, and this is where the lacing goes into. It's not like fly wire or anything. It's just eyelets for the laces to go in. When you tighten the shoe up, it tightens up the top of the shoe only. The only issue that I had with this is that it does kind of bunch up a little bit. I didn't find that it was that annoying. It didn't create any kind of rub parts on my foot, but it's worth noting that it just kind of scrunches that part up. The shoelaces themselves do stay tight for the most part. They're not the greatest shoelaces. They're a little bit stiff, and they do from time to time become unlaced. And then you finally have the Adidas 3 Stripes logo right on the top of the shoe. The look of the shoe is very much like all of the AlphaBounce series shoes. There's the AlphaBounce Beyond, there's the normal AlphaBounce running shoe, and personally I like it. I like that it has this kind of like organic look to it with lines here and there. It looks very different from any other training shoe out in the market, and I do like that about them. Some people are definitely not going to like the way that these look. It's a little bit polarizing. But if you like advancements in modern shoe design, then you'll probably like the AlphaBounce trainers style. So because it is an AlphaBounce shoe, the midsole is full length and it is made out of the bounce material. But unlike the running shoes or the AlphaBounce Beyonds, I really haven't tried them, so I really can't comment on those. This midsole is actually fairly stiff. It's not bouncy like the running shoes are. On the underside of the shoe, there is the traction outsole, which is a full-length rubber outsole. It's pretty good. It's got opposing lines of traction, and the grip of this shoe is excellent. Whatever you put it on, asphalt, gym flooring, boxes, or even the rope, the outsole handles very, very well. Another thing about the rope is that this shoe really is not rope ready. The grip is excellent, but the midsole cannot take that kind of punishment, and after only 3 rope climbs, it's showing some pretty good wear. I would say they're probably okay for just a few rope climbs, but honestly I would not do any kind of rope climbing in the AlphaBounce trainers. The insole only has a really small, thin, removable insole, which is nice. I don't like huge insoles. I don't really think that they're necessary on training shoes. So for the fit of the AlphaBounce trainers, if you have wide feet, you're gonna really love these shoes. Like I said before, these shoes are extremely wide, and that's not just the entire footprint of the shoe. The actual toe box is really, really wide. I'd say the mid and heel part of the shoe are pretty average, but the toe box is ginormous. It's cavernous. This is a men's size 10. I get all my training shoes in a size 10, and it does fit a little bit on the big side, but I don't think it's big enough for me to warrant a size down. I think that's just the way that the shoes fit because they are a little bit bigger. If I had to say it resembled any other shoe in fit, it would be closest, in length, to the Reebok Speed TRs. Those ones fit a little bit on the large side. They're definitely more narrow than these shoes are, but they're about the same lengthwise. This toe box it's gigantic. And that's not even including how far the midsole stretches out outside of the actual upper itself. My advice to you when sizing these shoes is that if you have Morton's toe, go with your normal training shoe size. If you do not have Morton's toe, and Morton's toe is where your second toe is longer than your big toe, then go with half a size down. If you're unsure, just get your normal training shoe size and I think you'll be fine. So for flexibility, these shoes are actually pretty good. They don't flex a whole lot in the midfoot, but they do well enough in the toe area to make them pretty comfortable shoes. Surprisingly, they do not feel as clunky as they might look. Sometimes wide shoes kind of have this clunkiness about them. They kind of feel like clown shoes, but these don't really have that issue. Now, if you were looking for a really soft and cushy bounce running shoe, this is not the one. These are not soft or comfortable in that way. I would not personally run more than 3 miles in these shoes, but I think they're pretty good for that. They're pretty good for any of the runs that you're going to be doing in a typical fitness workout. I usually don't do more than 3 miles at a time, so I can't tell you what the distance running experience would be like with these shoes, but with any shoe, if you really wanted to do it, you could probably get away with it. The responsiveness of these shoes is excellent because of that bounce midsole and just how dense it is, and then you get that full contact area from the wide platform of the shoe, which makes things like plyometric movements really good. Box jumps are really good in this. Burpees are comfortable enough. And then double unders, your feet don't really get all that sore because of that flex point. There is no midfoot shank or anything, as you can see as I'm bending the shoe, but there is a good amount of stiffness in the heel and the midfoot part of this shoe. So you do not have to worry about any kind of issues with stability with the AlphaBounce trainers because that outsole itself, or the outsole and midsole combination itself, is very, very stiff. The heel stability of the shoe feels really, really good. Normally, I would not wear a standard trainer, especially one that has 6mm drop, when I was squatting up to 90%. But I did in these shoes because I just wanted to test them out, and I ended up keeping the AlphaBounce trainers on for the duration of that rep scheme. Now for Olympic weightlifting, these are still a pretty good shoe. They're probably not as good as they are with powerlifting movements because there is a little bit of room in the toe box, at least for me. But I still felt that these were pretty stable. Landings were very stable. Jumping was excellent. Getting good power out of your takeoffs was pretty good in the AlphaBounce trainers. The one thing is that they do have that 6mm drop, so that did allow me to end up a little bit more forward than I would like from a training shoe. Generally, I like Olympic weightlifting in flatter shoes. I was really, really surprised with just how stable feeling the AlphaBounce trainers are. One, they're extremely wide shoes, so you get that increased contact area with the ground. The midsole has these gigantic outriggers that extend far out from the sides of the actual upper itself. The whole platform of the shoe is really big, and if I compared it to a Nano 8, which is another really wide training shoe, you can see that the AlphaBounce trainers extend almost a ½ inch more out to the sides in width, which makes these things incredibly stable shoes. Like I said before, I could deal without the 6mm drop. I wish that they had a flatter drop, like 2 or 4mm, maybe even 3mm. But really, when it comes down to it, when you use these, they do feel like a fairly flat shoe, and the response is excellent. The power delivery is on point. This is a really stable feeling training shoe, which is mind-boggling because it carries that AlphaBounce name, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. It's like saying that Boost is like the most stable shoe, but you have to take my word for it. These are really stable shoes. The AlphaBounce trainers come in at $100, which makes the value fairly high. They are a lower price training shoe. They're around the price of the Speed TRs, and that's about it. I guess you can throw in the Ultra Hit XTs and maybe even the Victos PTFX cores, but neither of those are as good as the AlphaBounce trainers. These are really solid training shoes. They're really good for anything that you'll find in, or any kind of workout that you'll find in a CrossFit gym. They're definitely gonna suffice pretty much anybody that is doing like global gym training or just general fitness. And I think these are probably going to be best suited for people that are doing turf training or football training. These are going to be a very laterally stable shoe. They're going to allow you to make those cuts very comfortably and very quick. And while they're not the most narrow shoe, they don't feel like a clunky shoe, and they should be agile enough for any kind of footwork drills. I really like the AlphaBounce trainers. I think for $100, these are excellent shoes for training, and I like the way that they look. I think that they're different than anything else that's out there, and you know, that's going to be a very subjective thing, but if you're looking for a shoe that doesn't look like any other training shoe and still performs very well, then you deserve to give the AlphaBounce trainers a look. I highly recommend them. If you guys have any questions about the AlphaBounce trainers, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always, guys, please hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.